Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream Sheets and the prevailed bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream Queen Size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The prevailed Queen Size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to mypillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. mypillow.com, promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in on this Monday. Here's what we're going to be talking about. An illegal migrant accused of shooting a CBP agent was arrested in New York City and released 4 times despite deportation orders. Of course, this was under the Biden administration policies. We got the full story for you. President Donald Trump threatened to hold up the Washington Commanders' plans to build a new stadium in D.C. if the team doesn't go back to using the old team mascot, the Redskins. For all of you golf fans out there, Scotty Scheffler added another major to his record, winning the Open yesterday. But it was a moment while accepting the trophy, known as the Claret Jug, that has everyone talking. And over the weekend, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard threatens prosecution against Obama administration officials for treasonous conspiracy. We have the details of a newly declassified report.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
President Donald Trump is demanding justice and accountability after an off-duty Customs and Border Protection officer was shot in the face during a botched robbery by a criminal illegal immigrant who had been released into the country by the Joe Biden administration, of course. The incident took place Saturday night. This was in Manhattan's Riverside Park. And according to police and federal officials, 21-year-old Miguel Francisco Mora Nunez, a Dominican national with a growing list of criminal charges and warrants, rode up to the officer with an accomplice on a motorized scooter and attempted to rob him at gunpoint. Didn't turn out too well. What followed was a shootout that left both the officer and the suspect wounded. President Trump, who has consistently, of course, warned of rising crime tied to illegal immigration, wasted no time slamming President Joe Biden's policies as the root cause of what he called a preventable tragedy. He posted on True Social Sunday morning, last night in New York City, an incredible CBP officer was shot in the face by an illegal alien monster freed into the country under Joe Biden. He was apprehended at the border in April 2023, but instead of being deported, he was released. Homeland Security confirmed Nunez was arrested in April of 2023 by Border Patrol. It was near San Luis, Arizona, but instead of being deported, instead of just turning him around and sending him back, as law enforcement agencies recommended, he was released into the interior of the United States under the Biden administration policies to go wherever he wanted to go. And we didn't even know where he was. That release, Trump and others argue, was a devastating failure of leadership. Trump continued on True Social, the Democrats have flooded our nation with criminal invaders, and now they must all be thrown out or in some cases immediately prosecuted, and that we cannot take a chance that they're able to come back. That's how evil and dangerous they are. According to DHS, Mr. Nunez is wanted for kidnapping in Massachusetts and has a bench warrant in the Bronx. He has previous arrests for assault, robbery, stabbing, and violating a protection order, according to New York City Mayor Eric Adams. These crimes span multiple jurisdictions, and yet Nunez was walking the streets free until he tried to kill a federal officer. Now think about that for a minute. How is that even possible? How can Joe Biden and Kamala Harris even explain this? How can they justify this? I mean, I get it. that maybe you're liberal and you just feel like you have a bleeding heart, and you think that, anybody who wants to come to our country to improve their lives, let them come. But to welcome criminals like this, to welcome someone who evidently is accused of being kidnapping somebody in Massachusetts, to welcome somebody and allowing someone just to run loose who has a bench warrant out in the Bronx for assault, robbery, stabbing, violating a protection order. How do you do that? How do you justify that? This, Trump supporters argue, is not just a policy oversight. It's criminal negligence by the Biden White House. So here's what we know. Authorities say that the off-duty officer was sitting along in the park when Nunes and another individual approached and attempted to rob him. Of course, obviously not knowing that he was a federal law enforcement officer. The officer, reportedly outnumbered and surprised, drew his firearm and engaged the suspects in a firefight, despite taking a gunshot to the face. Video surveillance shows that the confrontation. The officer, seriously wounded, still managed to shoot Nunes multiple times, strike him in the groin and the leg. Nunes then fled the scene and later walked into a local hospital where he was finally taken into custody. Trump wrote, "The officer bravely fought off his attacker despite his wounds, demonstrating enormous skill and courage." Police say that the officer is expected to survive and recover from his injuries. The second suspect fled the scene and is still at large. The second question I have is, how did this guy get a gun? It's bad enough that he's running loose in our country, but he's armed too. He has a gun that he's able to shoot, and fortunately could have killed this federal law enforcement officer. ICE has now lodged a detainer against Nunes, and I don't think Mr. Nunes is going to be turned loose again. Do you? This just is a reminder of President Trump's federal immigration enforcement, and it's going to take over this case once state charges are processed. Critics point out that this step after the fact doesn't change what happened or how it could have been avoided. Because if the Biden administration had done what it should have done, protect American citizens, this CBP officer wouldn't be in the hospital tonight. Nunes had been known to federal authorities for a while now. Again, he had a kidnapping warrant, a history of assault, and was already violating terms of previous arrest. But yet, Joe Biden kept turning him loose. The Biden administration was more lenient. He remained in the country, free to travel around state lines, accumulate more charges, and ultimately endanger American lives. But that was okay, because Kamala Harris was down in South America or somewhere trying to get to the root causes of the border issues. This shooting, of course, has reignited demands for a crackdown on sanctuary cities like New York, tighter immigration controls, and a return to the Trump-era border policies like Remain in Mexico and Title 42. I don't think President Trump is going to have any pushback on being able to continue to build that wall that he got funding for as a result of funding the big, beautiful bill. New York City Mayor Eric Adams confirmed Nunes' extensive criminal history at a press conference on Sunday, but stopped short of criticizing federal policies or the administration's, the Biden administration's release of the suspect. Adams said, "He has inflicted violence in our city. Once he is charged for last night's crimes, we will be able to add attempted murder to his rap sheet." Well, that's great, Mr. Mayor. But if you're not able to, if you're not willing to do something about that, if you're going to continue to go along with what Joe Biden would have wanted you to do and just release him again, doesn't matter what he's charged with. Doesn't matter what he's accused of. That answer from the mayor is not satisfactory to a lot of people who are critical of New York's sanctuary city status, who say that the city's sanctuary policies and refusal to cooperate with ICE directly contribute to this crisis and allow this guy to do this. One NYPD union leader said this should have never happened. The federal government and local officials alike dropped the ball. Now one of our own is fighting for his life. As details continue to emerge, prominent Democrats have remained largely silent about how Nunes was able to enter and remain in the country despite being a known criminal. This is what America under Biden looks like, said Representative Elise Stefanik, who sits on the House Intelligence Committee. An officer nearly killed in cold blood by someone who never should have been here. We need a full investigation in who authorized his release. And they should. They should drill down to every one of these charges against him and find out who exactly allowed him to be released each time. The timing of this incident couldn't be more politically charged. Heading into the 2026 midterms, Republicans are doubling down on law and order messaging, promising to restore border enforcement, and again, repealing sanctuary city protections and continuing to build the wall, as we now have funding to do so. This may just be the catalyst that starts the narrative of law and order and securing the southern border and deporting those who are already here as we go into the 2026 midterm elections. Joey Hudson here. America is facing a health crisis, and the answer isn't more meds. I lost over 30 pounds on the PhD weight loss plan without Ozempic or any weight loss shots. Don't settle for a lifetime of medication. GLP-1 injections like Ozempic help some people lose weight, but they come with side effects, high cost, and most gain it back when they stop. At PhD Weight Loss, we reveal Big Pharma's big secret. Your body already makes GLP-1, the appetite-fighting hormone. Our program helps your body make it naturally so you'll drop the pounds faster. With the PhD method, no side effects, no long-term risk, no rebound weight gain, just natural, lasting results, all without hunger or cravings. Right now, get a free body scan and personalized metabolic assessment. Discover your body's true potential without a shot. It's free and gives you the keys to your personalized plan. Do like I did and don't trade your health for a quick fix. Call now at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com. One more thing before we move on from immigration and southern border security. Former ICE agents are being offered a significant incentive to go back to work. Many agents who left the agency after becoming demoralized during the Joe Biden and Kamala Harris years could now earn themselves $50,000 as a bonus if they return to their former roles. Here's the story. In an email obtained by the New York Post, dubbed Operation Return to Service, agency officials urged their former employees to come back and thank them for their previous service. The email reads, due to the prior administration's disastrous immigration policies, the men and women of ICE now face unprecedented challenges. Your experience and unwavering commitment are critically needed to secure our communities and uphold our laws. It goes on to say, you served the United States of America with distinction and honor. Now your country calls upon you to serve once more. By returning to ICE, you're providing an honorable, indispensable service to our nation. The agency is offering a $10,000 signing bonus to former agents who return to service, along with an additional $10,000 for those who apply by August the 1st. Now, those who sign contracts and return to work are also eligible for an annual bonus of $10,000 for up to 3 years. So you do all of that, and you could end up with an extra $50,000 in your pocket if you're a former ICE agent. The ICE website, according to the Post, has since confirmed the existence of this operation. ICE confirmed that the recent passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act has enabled the agency to, quote, significantly expand its workforce, beginning with the return of former personnel. Makes sense, doesn't it? Look, if you got experienced ICE agents out there, rather than hiring new people who have to be trained, entice some of the old ones to come back. They only left because of Joe Biden. Come back and let them do their job. Let them do what they were trained to do. The legislation, of course, the One Big Beautiful Bill, allocated an additional $75 billion to ICE to support President Trump's intensified immigration enforcement agenda. Meanwhile, a further $30 billion was earmarked for arrest and deportation operations, and $45 billion designated for expanding detention infrastructure. Got to have a place to put them temporarily, because we're not turning them back. We're not turning them loose anymore. Not going to let them run loose. Agents will be tasked with helping carry out President Trump's policy of mass deportations of those who are here illegally. While the number of illegal immigrants living in the U.S. is a disputed number, we don't know how many. We know that there's 10 million, 50 million, 20 million. Who knows? But we do know that there is millions who have entered the country at the invitation of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and they were allowed to freely come in. Despite their efforts to increase deportation, ICE has struggled, we're told, to significantly ramp up their operations due to a lack of manpower and determination of Democrat lawmakers to keep them in the country. There's so much pushback still by the courts, by these rogue judges. So, hey, if you are a former ICE agent or you know of someone, you have a family member, a friend, let them know about this. They may want to go back and earn an extra $50,000 over the next 3 years. So this weekend, President Trump lit a fire under the Washington Commanders, used to be known as the Redskins, and the Cleveland Guardians, who used to be known as the Indians. And honestly, you saw it coming, didn't you? You knew this was going to come up. So here's the deal. Here's the story. President Trump basically told the Commanders, you want a big, shiny new stadium in D.C., which they do. Great, but only if you ditch the Commander's name and bring back the Washington Redskins. He posted that on True Social. His exact words, if they don't change the name back to the original Washington Redskins, I won't make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington. Now, let's pause for a second here. Let's think about this. This is the President of the United States. You would think he has more to be concerned about than a football stadium in Washington, D.C. But look, that's important. It's the message that's important. He didn't stop there, though. Trump went after the Cleveland Guardians, too. I mean, both of these teams, in the height of the woke agenda, when everybody was racing around the country, changing names on buildings, in some cases taking down statues, changing their names, like they were too afraid that the Redskins was going to offend the Indians, I guess. And the Cleveland Guardians, what's the Guardian anyway? I mean, that is just crazy. So Trump went after Cleveland as well, saying that they should roll back their name too. He even claimed team owner Matt Dolan keeps losing elections because of it. Now, I don't know about that, but Trump being Trump, he caps it off with a new slogan, "Make Indians Great Again." Yes, MAGA. So what's the reaction? Well, let's start with the Commanders, or the Redskins. Their owner, Josh Harris, actually met with Trump not too long ago in the Oval Office, we're told. They were talking about the RFK Stadium site and all the political wheels turning to get a new stadium built. But now, Harris says no. Mr. Harris says they're not going to change their name back. In fact, he told Fox News the name Commanders has actually caught on. He claims that players are leaning into it. He claims that the military community loves it. He claims that business is embracing it. He says they're going to move forward and they're going to remain the Commanders. Wow. So it's a hard no on Redskins from the folks who actually run the team, and I guess would ultimately be able to have to make that decision. As for Cleveland, Guardians president Chris Antonetti said pretty much the same thing. They're not looking backwards. He says the Guardians name is here to stay. It's been for 4 years. They built a whole new brand around it. They're not changing course just because President Trump dropped a truth bomb. But this isn't just about branding or marketing, is it? This is about a bigger cultural moment, the whole woke versus tradition debate. You've got Republicans in Congress, like Senator Steve Daines from Montana, who've already said they want the old Redskins logo back, not just for nostalgia, but as a way to honor Native American heritage. In fact, some Native leaders, including members of the Blackfeet Nation, have written letters supporting the return of the old name and logo. They say it was never about offense, it was about representation. Daines even called the previous rebranding a case of woke gone wrong and said bringing back the old name could even help funnel money into Native youth sports programs. That's what the negotiations are about, trying to strike a balance between honoring heritage and keeping the NFL happy. But evidently, the Commanders aren't interested. They're not biting. We'll see. Who wants to bet on Donald Trump eventually winning this one? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. On the text line, Faye says, Joey, did you hear what Greg Gutfeld said about the Democrat Party? He said it's like watching Jaws and rooting for the shark. This is truth. You're so right. Faye, thanks for sending that. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard called for several Obama administration officials to face criminal prosecution for participating in a treasonous conspiracy surrounding the 2016 election. On Friday afternoon, she revealed this. The latest example of the Trump administration targeting critics of the president, some in the left, in the mainstream media, saying that we just need to leave this alone. Now, 2016 is past. We're done with that. In a newly declassified report, Ms. Gabbard alleged that officials manipulated and withheld key intelligence from the public related to the possibility of Russian interference in the election. We know that to be true, don't we? We know that they withheld key information. Let me digress here for a moment. Have you seen the video that President Trump released on Truth Social yesterday? It's an AI video, and it has a lot of people. It opens up with real video clips of people like former Speaker Nancy Pelosi and a lot of Democrats saying no one is above the law. They just say it over and over. You know how they do these montages? So you've got all these Democrats saying, even Letitia James, saying no one's above the law. Then you cut to a scene of President Trump and Barack Obama sitting in the Oval Office when FBI agents come in from behind him, grab his arms, put them behind him, and put him in handcuffs. And Donald Trump's just sitting there smiling. That has just taken over social media. And it's all because of this story that started to gain traction over the weekend with Ms. Gabbard on Friday, making the allegations or saying that she's going to refer this for further criminal investigation. Gabbard said that she would provide all the related documents to the Justice Department to, quote, deliver the accountability that President Trump, his family, and the American people deserve. In a statement, she said, no matter how powerful, every person involved in this conspiracy must be investigated, prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law to ensure nothing like this ever happens again. Now, Hillary Clinton and the Democrats, everybody who was involved in that whole Russia collusion story, they thought it was done. They thought it was over, that it was past, and that they had survived. Maybe not so. I don't know. What do you think? Should we continue pursuing a criminal investigation of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama? He was probably involved, of exactly what happened that allowed the whole Russia collusion story to gain ground. Remember how much time we spent on that in 2016? And Trump still won. The memo names former National Intelligence Director James Clapper, former CIA Director John Brennan, and former FBI Director James Comey, among others, allegedly involved in the White House's review of possible Russian meddling in the election. The president has repeatedly criticized former intelligence officials for their efforts to probe the Kremlin's possible attempts to interfere in American politics. Trump, of course, has accused Comey of leading a corrupt and vicious witch hunt that tried to derail him. He has stripped security clearances from prominent Obama and Biden-era officials and has long promised investigations into public figures that he thinks we should look into that was part of the whole Russia collusion effort. Back in the spring, in April, President Trump ordered an investigation into Christopher Krebs, who ran Trump's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency during his first term and prominently pushed back against Trump's stolen 2020 election mythology. Politico says that Clapper and Brennan, they reached out to them to try to get a response of this latest, that they would not respond to requests, and that James Comey declined to comment. Of course they don't want to talk about this. Why would they want to talk about this? Gabbard's report centers on intelligence that foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on election infrastructure to alter the U.S. presidential election outcome in an attempt to discredit larger investigations and warnings about Russia meddling in the 2016 election. Obama-era officials said shortly after the 2016 election that there was no credible evidence of voting totals being manipulated, even as a third-party candidate filed for recounts in some of the swing states. Remember all the chaos around this? Mark Elias, a powerful Democrat attorney who represented Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016, said in response to the recount back then that the campaign had not uncovered any actionable evidence of hacking or outside attempts to alter the voting technology. Look, we know it was up and up. We know that Donald Trump soundly defeated Hillary Clinton. Representative Jim Hines, he's a Democrat from Connecticut, is accusing Ms. Gabbard of rehashing decade-old false claims about the Obama administration in an attempt to change the subject in a Friday afternoon statement. He said, baseless accusations of treason are unfortunately par for the course for this Director of National Intelligence, but that doesn't make them any less damaging and unacceptable, he said. The IC leaders in 2016 understood that they took an oath to the Constitution, not to President Trump. I wish Director Gabbard could say the same. Look, the Democrats are going to push back hard because they don't want anybody digging around in this. Mr. Himes pointed to a report produced by the Republican-led Senate Intelligence Committee during the first Trump administration, which is regarded to be the most thorough publicly available account of Moscow's attempt to try to sway the election. The committee's 3-year investigation concluded that the Kremlin waged an aggressive effort to interfere in the presidential election. They spent a lot of money, millions of dollars. It also found that the Trump campaign's team contact with Russian officials just weren't there, just didn't happen. This was a bipartisan committee. They reported that they did not reach a conclusion either way as to whether the president's allies had knowingly colluded with Moscow to boost his chances in the poll, or that Hillary Clinton's and the Democrats tried to also work with Russia to try to interfere in the election. Of course, the Democrats now, and those over the weekend who have seen Gabbard's latest report, are trying to throw shade on it. They're reminding people that at the time, the Senate's report was endorsed by then Senator Marco Rubio, who's now, of course, Secretary of State under President Trump. We'll see. Again, I go back to my question. Is this something that we should continue to spend time on, spend money, resources on? Or do we just let 2016, do we just kind of try to forget that and move on, move forward? Text me, email me, joeyhudson.com. Quick story out of New York. Andrew Cuomo is threatening to do one thing that every fed-up New Yorker jokes about but just never actually does, and that's leave New York and move to Florida if this young man, Zoran Mamdani, becomes the next mayor of New York City. Cuomo says he's out, gone, headed south. Palm trees, humidity, the high temperatures and all. Cuomo made the comments at a private gathering hosted by John Catsimatidis, who is a billionaire supermarket owner who would stand to lose a lot if this young man wins and takes the grocery stores, takes charge of them and lets the government run them. He, a few real estate heavy hitters in New York City who own lots of apartments, lots of commercial buildings, say that it could be devastating to the real estate market. So what? So back to Cuomo. What set Cuomo off? Well, in short, Zoran Mamdani, who's being described as a Muslim communist, who just beat Cuomo, by the way, in the Democrat primary, is now, of course, the front runner and is expected to probably win in November. Cuomo didn't mince words. He called Mamdani's campaign full of unrealistic bumper sticker slogans, mocked him as just a kid, and warned that his rent control policies would be a death sentence for landlords in New York's already squeezed housing market. But the headline moment when Cuomo said, "We either win or even I will move to Florida, God forbid." Now, what Cuomo may not understand is this could help Mamdani to win, because there's probably a lot of New Yorkers out there who would love to see Cuomo leave New York. So they could just decide, well, this is how we get rid of the guy. This is how we once and for all get rid of Andrew Cuomo. Now, wouldn't that be a hoot? Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you could trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. All right, for all of you who will indulge me for a moment, those of you who are golf fans, or maybe just a fan of class, of humility, good old-fashioned family values, then yesterday was one for the scrapbook. Scotty Scheffler, remember the name? Because he's quickly carving his way into golf's Mount Rushmore. What a fine young man. The world number one golfer, dominated again this weekend, cruising to a victory yesterday at the Open, or you may remember it as the British Open. Now they're just calling it the Open. It was a championship in beautiful Northern Ireland. The Royal Portrush was the stage. And, of course, in addition to millions of dollars for the grand prize, also the claret jug. And Scheffler made it look like it was a piece of cake. But here's the thing that makes this story more than just a sports headline or something about golf, and more than just another trophy on the mantle. After wrapping up his second major championship this year, his second, now, again, if you're not a golf fan, you may not just realize how big that is to win two majors in 1 year, but that's a big deal. Scotty Scheffler wasn't rushing to pop the champagne or to celebrate in some ritzy clubhouse. He was rushing to the 18th green, trophy in hand, to scoop up his 1-year-old son, Bennett. And we saw Bennett. We met Bennett back last year, right after he was born, when his dad had won another tournament. Bennett has always been there after his dad wins these tournaments. Now, Bennett was trying to make his way up a grassy hill to the 18th green because he saw his dad up there. And the cameras happened to see Bennett trying to do this. And here you got this little guy trying to run up this hill. He can barely walk. You know how toddlers are at that age, just over a year old. And he took a tumble. He was down on all fours. Now, it was nice, lush, soft grass, so there was no chance that Bennett was going to hurt himself. But you could hear the crowd just sigh. They got quiet when this little guy just fell, trying to see his dad. He never took his eyes off his dad. He's on his stomach looking up and still seeing his dad up there. And that's when Scotty Scheffler, the champion of the world, with claret jug in hand, walks over, bent down, and picked his little guy up in front of a cheering gallery and a worldwide television audience. It was just seen as one of golf's most dominant performances of the season. And I think what makes it even more important is that, unlike other sports, golf has kind of maintained some dignity. They haven't fallen into all of the woke stuff that the NBA and some of these, even NFL, and, you don't see them taking a knee during the national anthem or anything like that. This was good stuff, folks. Even if you're not a golf fan necessarily, this is the kind of moment that you don't just watch, you kind of feel it. You live it right there with them, seeing this little guy trying to get to his dad who's just won a big trophy and millions of dollars. Of course, the millions of dollars doesn't mean anything to little Bennett right now. So you can have your sports dynasties, your big money endorsements, all that comes with that. But this is what America and the world roots for. A man who wins on the course, but never forgets what truly matters off of the court. And let's be honest, Scottie Scheffler's season has been nothing short of jaw-dropping. 4 wins on the PGA Tour, including the Byron Nelson, the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. He's top 25 in every event he's played this season. 12 top 10 finishes, $16.1 million in official winnings. I don't know how much he added to that over the weekend. And he's leading the FedEx Cup standings by a mile. No one's even close. The next closest, Roy McIlroy, who was in his hometown playing over the weekend, just couldn't quite catch up with Scottie Scheffler. But even with all that, the headlines that really stick aren't necessarily about the scorecard. They're about dad smiling at his son and just being so proud with the trophy in hand, kind of just taking in the moment of little Bennett trying to make it up on that green. There's a verse in Proverbs that says, children's children are the crown of old men, and the glory of children is their father. And I'd say right now, little Bennett's got a front row seat to watching his dad become both champion and his hero. There's just something reassuring about Scottie Scheffler. He's not chasing fame or flash. I'm sure that's part of it, but you see a guy, he's grounded. He talks openly about his faith. He's honest about how being number one in the world doesn't automatically make life fulfilling. He knows that there's more to life than trophies, and maybe that's exactly why he keeps winning them. Now, it's easy also to have that attitude when you're in a position that he's in. He'll never have to worry about money again in his life. But there's still that one trophy that he's eyeing, of course, and that's the U.S. Open. He hasn't won that yet. But at this rate, he will. That's the last piece of the career Grand Slam puzzle. He's won the Masters and the others, but that's the piece that he's lacking yet. So hats off to Scottie Scheffler, the pride of American golf, the kind of athlete that we can hold up to our kids and our grandkids, and we can say, look at that. That's how you win, with excellence, with humility, and with family by your side. So I just congratulations to Scottie and to little Bennett. Keep practicing those victory laps, buddy. Something tells me that you're going to be a champion yourself. And one more thing before we get off of this, and about Scottie Scheffler. In a rare interview recently, just last week, where he opened up about his personal beliefs, and again, he hasn't necessarily shied away from talking about his faith, but this was kind of special because he had a message for all of us. Sometimes the most powerful words come dressed in a smile. And that was the case with Scottie Scheffler when he casually dropped a truth bomb. He said, if I win, it's going to be awesome for 2 minutes. Now, he was asked about if he were to win yesterday. Not exactly what you'd expect from a 3-time major champion, but it wasn't bitterness, it was honesty. Just, hey, yeah, it's great to win. But when the clapping stops and when the crowd goes away and when I go back home, it's just me and my family, my wife and my son. Scheffler's dominance, of course, in the golf world is unmatched right now. He's winning all the time. He makes it look easy. But what he's saying is something deeper. The trophies don't fill the tank. The applause fades, the lights go down, and at the end of every day, it's just dinner with your family. And that's what really matters. He's not necessarily saying that his life is only full because of winning golf trophies and the millions of dollars that comes with it. He's playing the game because he loves it, because it challenges him, but not because it's the only thing in his world, not because it just totally defines him. The world tells us that the win will satisfy every craving, but Scheffler's message is it doesn't. What does is his faith, family, and purpose, and that's the stuff we all need to remember. We need to take that out of Scotty Scheffler's playbook. That's it for today's show. Tara's up next, followed by Mike Gallagher, Bill Frady, Charlie James. We're back again tomorrow at 5 a.m. for more of Sunrise Carolina. Until then, folks, remember, God truly does have this. He's in control. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.